All right, what's up, guys? The holidays are right around the corner, and a lot of those that are following a nutrition plan or on a specific diet tend to run into problems at this time of the year. We got Thanksgiving on the horizon, Christmas is coming up, as well as New Year's. Um, Three really major holidays that a lot of people tend to take time off of work for, tend to do a bit of traveling for as well. But many people run into issues, if they're on a nutrition plan or following a diet. And I just wanted to give some advice, my 2 cents of how I like to approach it for myself, but for the advice that I like to give to others as well when it comes to the day of eating, on the holiday. So many people will celebrate with a pretty big feast. Not everyone does. Some people have their own traditions. Some people are not as fortunate as others and don't have a ton of family and friends to spend the holidays with, which is really unfortunate. And so not everyone has the same circumstances, not everyone does the same things. But we do tend to see that a lot of people typically gather around their family and friends for the holidays and eat a rather big meal. At these big meals tends to be a lot of not the best food, I would say, for us to consume. But here's my philosophy on this. One day is not going to hurt. Okay, even throughout the year, having a donut off plan or having a slice of pizza with a friend or having a drink, whatever it is, isn't going to completely derail your progress. It's not going to make or break you by any means. There's no one bad food item. There's no one food is not going to make you fat or put you in a state of being obese or overweight. It is the accumulation of excessive calorie intake over a long period of time that leads to excess weight gain. Even if you're over consuming healthy foods, if you're eating more than you're burning, you're going to put weight on. So there's no one bad food. Now, especially the holidays, don't worry about your diets. I mean, if you are someone who needs to follow a very strict nutrition plan, if you are preparing for a contest or a show, if you really can't afford to divert off your plan a little bit or have some of the tasty goods, you know what you signed up for, and you probably don't really have any issues when it comes to these days or the holidays in specifics. Typically, these people have a plan in place. They don't really have a problem adhering to their nutrition plan. They either bring food with them or they know how to make the proper adjustments for the food that is prepared in front of them. And then you have other people that maybe don't follow their nutrition plan to a T, but they know how to kind of manage the portion sizes on their plates. And they keep things, within reason. They don't overstuff themselves. They definitely dabble in a little bit of everything: the casseroles, the meats, the goods, you name it. But they're not going crazy, right? They're having all the goods, but they're making sure that the portion size on their plate is within reason. And they're not overdoing it, throughout one whole day or consecutive days. It might be a meal or two. They may have a snack or two in the evening. It's just a little unhealthy. Happens. It's the holidays. But they tend to typically stay, within reason, and then the next day they get right back on their plan. And then you have people that typically stress themselves out beyond belief when it comes to eating on the holidays. They're very rigid in their plan. They really don't have a ton of flexibility in their diets as you see it in regular. And so when the holidays approach, it tends to put them in shambles, causes a lot of unnecessary stress, and typically it just gets in the way of enjoying your holiday with your family and friends, which is the purpose of the holiday. And so this is why I just tell people, enjoy the day, stay within reason, don't overstuff yourself, don't overindulge, don't put yourself to a point where you're going to be in a food coma on the couch, or to the point where you're, having to drop your belt buckle a few notches so your pants fit. It happens, but limiting these things is going to be your best bet and in your best interest when it comes to eating on the holidays. Enjoy the day, enjoy the food that's prepared in front of you. There's not many days in the year where we get to gather around family and friends and appreciate, all that we have in our lives. It's not very often that you might get to eat, grandma's baked goods or your aunt's casserole. That's, really, really good, but not really good for you. So, just make smart decisions, stay within reason, don't overindulge yourself, enjoy the day with your friends and family. But my biggest piece of advice is get right back on the train the next day. Don't allow this one day to spill over into a second or even a third. Don't make excuses for it. Don't try to justify the food you're eating. Eat the food, enjoy your company, and get on with get right back on track the next day. So that's what I got to say about eating on the holidays. Whether it's 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it is, your birthday, stay within reason, be reasonable, like I just said. and don't overindulge yourself. And it's that simple. Get right back on track the next day. You're gonna be good to go.